Alright, y'all. Let's get the camera set up. So my goal is to do 30 minutes of studying every single day. And so yeah, just because I want to get better at what I do, right? So I need to study to do that. And so today we are going to be, it's kind of a toss-up between small contractors and home construction contracts. I think that's where I was at. But you know what we'll do? I was making notes as I go along, so. Look at this. Hey, what's up? Okay. Y'all poured in. Sorry, I didn't see any of that. Hey, how's the audio? Is the audio okay? Also, I need to go get my pencil so I can mark this up as I go because I like to make notes. Where did I put that? I think it's in my room. I'll be right back. There it is. Alright, guys. Sorry about that. Kind of muffled. It's okay. So sorry about that. So is it? I want to connect the audio through my earpods. Is it my earpods or is it my phone? I hope it's my earpods or my AirPods. What's up, Gosen? What's up, Tiana? Sounds like it's from your AirPods. Do you think it's better or worse from there? I can try without. What's up, Epic Pickle? Sounds good, TBH? Okay. What's up, Zombie? Hey, I saw your comment on my post. Appreciate that. Much better? Okay, appreciate that. I appreciate y'all. So today, like I kind of said, we are going to be doing a little bit of study for tax law. So, yeah, let's do it. This is Chapter 3, Small Contractors. So I'm just going to get into this. I might say it out loud. Yeah. So this is talking about IRC Section 460, which is basically like contract, all about contract stuff and construction contracts. And or they use percentage of completion, or they use like most small contractors and taxpayers, I think the cutoff is like 10 million receipts or something, like 10 million gross receipts. They'll use the cash method because PCM or percentage of completion method is kind of a pain to figure out. What's your advice to someone who'll graduate? Bro, good luck. I know, right? That's what I'm thinking. I got gold in the pickleball tournament today. Hell yeah. Thank you, Ghost. This is like, it's pretty dense. But I still like to read it. I think I was in home contracts. Yeah, I was. Okay. Well, we'll continue. with the small contractors. The tax accounting rules for home construction contracts are discussed in Chapter 4. This chapter discusses the second type of exempt contracts, that is, contracts meeting the exemption of IRC Section 460E1B, commonly referred to as the small contractors exemption. So this is like kind of like what I was telling you guys. Appreciate the $2. I'm not sure exactly what the gross receipts cutoff is. It probably will tell me in here. But I think it's a 10 million, and I think that's, oh, never mind. It's 1 billion, I think. Okay, we'll take a look at that later. So regulations governing construction contractors. So numerous changes to the tax law have occurred since 1986, obviously, that have caused tax and accounting for contractors to become extremely complicated and time-consuming. Some of the more important changes are as follows. So IRC Section 460 was enacted. Reporting taxable income from long-term construction contracts using percentage of completion. This is obviously like a lot more complicated. IRC Section 460 has subsequently been amended several times, and IRS notices 87, 80, 61, 88, 66, and 89 to 15 provide taxpayers guidance for complying with IRC Section 460 and its changes. The industrial regulations, okay, this is just kind of catching up on some stuff that's not really super important. Just changes in the tax law when they happened. It happens a lot. Thanks, Matthew. What made you drop IT from computer science and planning to study CS in US next year? It was a math class, discrete structures. I didn't like it. I wasn't very good at it. I got like a B- on my first test, and I was like, not for me. But I loved accounting. It was fantastic. It was exactly what I needed. Also, if you guys could just like the video really quick, I would super appreciate it. So, I'd be down to do an accountant role play. I'm prepping to meet with a bunch of real estate agents later next week, so maybe I'll do a video for you guys on that, like just talking about some of this stuff. Because I actually just started my own accounting firm, so. There you go, Majdan. Good luck. Why are you studying Yuki over top ASMR? Yeah, Felipe. I think it's pretty cool that you see it backwards and it's more. Also, if you guys are interested in the Patreon, check that out. All my YouTube content, ad-free, and exclusive content coming up on there. Sounds good, Kim. So overview, Exhibit 3.1 represents a portion the primary tax rules from Exhibit 1.1 that are applicable to small contractors. Before determining appropriate tax methods for a small contract, the following questions must be answered. Is the contract a long-term contract? And does the contractor meet the small contractor's exception in IRC Section 460E1B? That's what we talked about earlier. If the small contractor's exemption is not met, the taxpayer must use percentage of completion method in accordance with IRC Section 460. So I wish it would give the IRC Section 460E1B. So the application, there's a graph here. Does the taxpayer have any long-term contracts? Yes. Is the small contractor's exemption in IRC Section 461B met? No or yes. Rules are found in those methods. Taxpayers may elect out of look-back in certain situations. Also, taxpayers who have elected the 10% method are not subject to look-back contract until 10% is complete. And then it talks about some tax relief act. And it actually drops some, oh yeah, the TCJA removed alternative minimum tax for C-Corps. 15 AMT. Okay, so yeah, Inflation Reduction Act, interesting. Meets income test. Determining whether a contract is a long-term contract is discussed at the beginning of paragraphs 104.2 and 200.22. Following details to answer the remaining questions. Criteria that must be met for a contractor to qualify for the small contractors exemption. That's what I was looking for. That's the 460E1B. And what effect the exemption has on accounting for contracts. I'm going to be doing another donut video very soon, so be on the lookout for that. The methods of accounting available to small contractors, the advantages, disadvantages. So this is just kind of talking about what this chapter is talking about. So first, this is the big one, the small contractors exemption. So this is the exemption to make sure, or to make it so that we don't have to use, or I guess apply section 460, which is making it so that we have to use percentage of completion method, which is a lot more complicated and just costly to implement than using just like simple cash basis for contracts, for long-term contracts. As noted in paragraph 302, IRC section 460E1B provides for a small contractor's exemption. To qualify for the exemption, the contract must meet both of the following conditions. At the time the construction contract is entered into, the taxpayer estimates the contract will be completed within the 2-year period beginning on the contract commencement date. The taxpayer's annual gross receipts for the 3 tax years preceding the tax year in which the contract is entered into do not exceed the gross profit threshold established under IRC section 448C. The threshold is $29 million for tax years beginning 2023 and $30 million for tax years beginning 2024. Okay, so that's where I got that 10 million number from. So prior to the Tax Cut and Jobs Act, the TCJA, for contracts entered into before 2018, the 460 threshold was 10 million. So it's a lot lower than obviously 29 and 30 million. I do want to move out of Utah though. I'm kind of getting sick of this place, if I'm being honest. But I would move somewhere close. Like I was thinking about going to Boise. I think that'd be cool. It just has to be the right fit because I still want to be close to Utah, but that's hilarious actually. These criteria are described in the following paragraph. So construction contract, I feel like that's pretty self-explanatory. Most people, you could make an argument for that. Doesn't define, well, of course, section 460 doesn't define real property. It would be defined somewhere else. Yeah. Structural components, yada yada. 2-year rule, pretty self-explanatory. Yeah. Contract commencement date, the date the contractor or related first party incurs any allocable contract costs such as design or engineering costs. Okay. Estimated completion. Yeah, they give a little example. Average annual gross receipts went from 10 million, and then TCJA bumped it to 29, and then 30. I don't know why I went to 29 and 30, but gross receipts, principles. Interesting. Yeah, it refers to gross receipts, not gross profits. Very different things. Okay, so this is all. There's nothing in here that's like. crazy. A controlled group can either be a parent subsidy. I probably wouldn't be into any control groups. There's not a whole lot of those that I would work with. Attribution rules gives IRS authority to issue regulations providing attribution for rules for other related entities, partnerships, joint ventures, related corps. Yeah, this is all very... The exemption from the applicability of IRC Section 460 applies only to the determination of income for regular income tax purposes. Contractors meeting the small contractor exemption, yes, this is the important part, except contracts that are home construction contracts, still have to compute their tax liability for minimum tax purposes. It's AMT using the percentage of completion method of accounting. That's very important. However, for years beginning after 1996, the AMT is repealed for small corporations. I wonder if that includes S. And for tax years beginning after, is repealed for all C corps. Okay. Yeah, see section 304 for more on a contractor's AMT liability. That's going to be important. Don't care about prior to TCJA AMT. Wow. Thank you for, I don't know what that currency is, but thank you. Appreciate that. That must have been actually a fair amount of money though, because it just says that I got like $50, so I appreciate that, bro. It's 8 o'clock here. Vaping weed on the couch, listening to someone study aloud. Yeah, thanks so much. Lucky eyes. I appreciate that. Shout out. Okay. Where was I wanting to go? Exclude contacts. I want to go paragraph 304. But this is also important because it's not going on. Let's do, do you typically read aloud when studying? No, it slows me down, so not usually, but it also helps me remember stuff better. I would love to walk through I have a Google slide that I made for these realtors that I'm presenting to that I would love to walk through with you guys, so I feel like I don't know. I feel like it would be nice. How the hell can you study on live cam? Good luck. Yeah, I run my own tax and advisory practice, Dan. So I'm studying up on the rules for contractors, long-term contracts, and yeah, subcontractors, home construction contracts. I have not, Sev. How far? Okay, so methods of accounting. Section 460 focus on the PCM. Many contracts do meet that exemption exactly and are able to use methods other than PCM. If a contractor's exemption applies, a contractor may use an accounting method of accounting for long-term contracts authorized by the IRC. Must clearly reflect income and must be used consistently from year to year. That's fine. Selecting an accounting method. Looking through these, like,
Cash receipts and disbursements method is A, accrual with deferral of retentions, completed contract, we talked about that. Wait, no, we didn't. That's different than PCM. Exempt contract percentage of completion method, hybrid method, section 460 PCM, PCM simplified cost to cost, PCM 10%, PCM capitalized cost. I think, so cash receipts and disbursements or completed contract would be the easiest. And it goes into fully what it is. So my guess before we do this is the cash receipts and disbursements is exactly as it sounds. Recognize revenue receipt and, recognize expense on disbursements. Completed a contract method is interesting because it essentially allows for you to recognize all of the revenue and all of the expenses when the contract is completed, right? So, and we'll go through and we'll read the actual, paragraph. But it's interesting because you could be having a bunch of activity in 1 year and not necessarily have it be reflected on the tax return, right? Because it's all going to be recognized when you complete the contract. So it's kind of, now obviously like contracts overlap and there's other contracts completing in years, you start others, so it's not like you're going to have zero activity for a tax year. But it's just something interesting. So let's read their definition of cash receipts and disbursements. So regulation 14461C1I describes the cash receipts and disbursements method, often referred to as the cash method, as follows. Generally, under the cash and receipts disbursements method, in the computation of taxable income, all items that constitute gross income, whether in the form of cash, property, or services, are to be included in the tax year in which actually or constructually received. So constructive receipt is something that if you guys ever get into accounting, you'll find out about. It's kind of an interesting topic. I'm gonna go fill up my water bottle super quick. Brazil loves you. I love Brazil, bro. How will we know to move the money to Bahamas or this kind of countries? Just for a friend. Have you ever worked with an extremely unreasonable client? No, I just barely started my firm. I left public accounting. I was at a really big firm previously and didn't really ever talk to the client. And so I just left there and I've just started picking up clients and, scheduling calls and all that stuff. So not yet, but I've talked to people who are completely unreasonable, like about taxes, but one of them has never been my client, luckily. That's very much by design. I know, right? It's kind of fun, huh? It's very comfortable. It's a very, very comfortable shirt. Yeah, coding was just for fun. You manage all your workload without getting overwhelmed. I just make really big lists. There's a list right here. National. Yep. I'm what you call an enrolled agent, so it's a federal distinction, what you call it, certification. You've never filed, dear gosh, don't say that in front of my face though. Paid everything with cash. Cash that's a dying, I hope that we never get rid of cash as a country, but it's definitely like there's still businesses that primarily operate off of cash, which I think is kind of funny. Like tattoo artists, for example. I don't know how many of you have tattoos or have tattoos, but like I would say vast majority of tattoo artists, um, the vast majority of tattoo artists strictly accept cash. Maybe, I don't know. There might be some people who will take, payment over Venmo or something, but Dan, the income tax that you're thinking of with like a Form 1040 is going to be your federal. But like, you'll file your state at the same time. I haven't, Blair. Your new tat is sick. I appreciate that, Brock. It's just now starting to heal. You know what? I read that question, Evan, and then I forgot about it, and then Anthony reminded me of it, so no. But no, not that I... Do you have a bipolar disorder by chance? No, not that I know of. You'll find that I'm very, in my personal life, I'm very, for the most part, like, do you know somebody who committed tax fraud? No. I'd see fallen opposite. I personally hope all cash goes away and everything goes digital. I hate carrying it. So, me too, Ataro. I don't like cash, like to carry it and to use it, but there's just like this weird thing of everything going digital, and like, okay, what if like my bank accounts get shut down, or what if something happens and the government starts telling you what you can or can't spend money on? That's what I don't like about it. From like a reporting standpoint, a tax standpoint, it would be so much easier. It'd be so much, maybe not even easier, but so much. I mean, if everything's digital, right? Like all 1099s are being sent, all, like everything would be accounted for. So it'd be easier that way. But then, yeah, it's too volatile. Probably space, Eric. What if there's a blackout? Yeah, exactly. And it's like, yeah, it's just, I don't know. I don't love cash, but I prefer it to the alternative of everything being digital. No, Dev, that was strictly for my tattoo artist. So I went to the ATM, I got that money. But yeah, that was strictly for, I don't carry cash otherwise. I can't speak Arabic. Yeah, papers, even like, I think now, so my practice is entirely virtual, and there's still a ton of firms that run where people bring in physical documents, and I'm just like, that is just so, it's annoying, it's inefficient, I have to upload it anyways. So it's like everything in regards to that, just freaking take a picture with your phone. Because all the paper documents are just so annoying to me. Even like bank statements or just stuff like that, I'm glad that we moved away from that. Anyway, in general, the cash receipts and disbursement method can be used if all the following conditions are met. Must not have significant inventories or be required to maintain inventories. Construction in progress is generally considered to be owned by the project owner rather than the contractor. So he's talking about the there are some contractors who do speculative homes, and I think that those homes technically fall into their inventory. So it's like a different process, a different like there's just a lot more accounting that goes into spec homes than if you're building a custom home for an owner, they're already going to own that project, right? So you don't have to like take that into account. So I think that cash receipts and disbursements method, I don't think that you'd be able to use it for speculative home builders. There's a helicopter going by. That doesn't happen a lot. Use of cash receipts and disbursement methods must not significantly distort income. It would definitely do that for speculative home builders, right? A contractor should not have significant unrecorded contract receivables or payables. In 2017, TCJA expanded the availability of cash method to all taxpayers other than tax shelters, with revenues not exceeding the gross receipts threshold established under Section 448C. See paragraph 301. 301. Is this 448C? That's the 10 million. It's got to be right. Yeah. So 460, 10 million previously. And 29. Okay. That makes sense. That's a good question, Seth. I don't know. Is this for CPA license? No, this is just personal study. Okay. So some of these are interesting. Cash versus accrual method. All right. It's often an issue. Yeah, I don't really. Cannot omit. When a contract provides for monthly billings and payments, a contractor cannot omit from taxable income the last month's payment by neglecting to send a bill or having the owner delay the payment of the bill. Okay. Right. Now this just talks about constructive receipt, which is if you graduated in an accounting program, I hope that you know what constructive receipt is. That seems to be like not a hot topic, but it got covered in like a couple of my accounting classes. What would you spend on a nice camping chair? Dude, I don't know if I've ever bought a camping chair. Yeah, I don't think I ever have. Off the top of my head though, maybe like I don't know. I mean, it depends. I'm a big value guy. So like I'm not gonna buy the cheapest option, but I want like the most value for my dollar. But then there's certain things where I think it's worth it to not maybe get the best value per dollar. Like if it's something you're interested in, or like what's an example of that for me? Like shoes. Yeah. I mean, I don't love shoes, but I feel like I'm particular about them, and so I'm okay not getting the best value for my dollar. Wow, that's crazy epic. That's also just Yeti. Like I feel like there's a very, very expensive brand. This talks about fee retainages. Okay, so this is interesting. So fee retainages should be included in taxable income when collected or when payable according to the contract terms. Excuse me. That's not my water. Okay, what I really want to get to is this completed contract method. This is interesting. Does the taxpayer have average annual gross receipts of 1 million or less? No. So it's interesting. So if the answer is no, then there's more. Is a taxpayer other than a C corporation or partnership with a C corporation partner? Yes. I would say for most of the clients that I service, that answer would be yes. Is a taxpayer generally required to maintain inventories under IRC section 471? I would say no. Okay, so most of these, I'd say probably everybody could use the cash method then, because generally not doing spec homes. Now, this is interesting. If you say yes, if they are doing spec homes, does the average taxpayer have average annual gross receipts of 10 million or less? Probably not, I would say. And then it says no, and it says, so they have to use the accrual method. Yes, I think that's probably why you have like a lot of these guys, like, D.R. Horton or other big spec home builders. That's probably why they have their own internal accounting, like, departments. That'd be interesting to go and work for one. Okay. Yeah, this is a ton of information on accrual. So AMT, that was a big part I wanted to look at. I'm studying tax. Why Maxwell over Max? Are you asking me or are you asking the people who named me? This is what I've always preferred. It's not what I want. Complete contract, here we go. A deduction of related contract deferred until the tax year in which the contract is completed. The contractor, yeah, this is pretty typical, may not purposefully delay completion in order to delay income recognition. Interesting. So for GAAP purposes, if you have a loss on one of these completed contract projects, the loss is recorded in full when it's determined that a loss exists. But for tax purposes, the anticipated loss is not recognized until the year in which the contract is completed. Okay, so that doesn't really matter for a lot of my purposes, because a lot of these people are like they don't need, rock solid, like they're not having investors coming in where they need these financial statements. Not that they wouldn't be done perfectly, but that's just kind of like a moot point almost. the taxpayer must still allocate production period interest to long-term contracts and recognize the allocated interest expense when the contract is completed. Okay. Cost allocation. Okay, so this is for overhead. Costs identified under cost plus or federal long-term contracts must be capitalized even if the costs are not required, otherwise be allocated to the contract. Lists the categories of costs required to be capitalized under the completed contract method. Generally, all direct and indirect costs that relate to the performance of long-term contracts must be capitalized. Costs that are usually expensed rather than capitalized include, yeah, of course. It talks about completion date. That's fine. Actually, I'm curious. Uses a subject. Okay, yeah, so that makes sense. Customer uses the subject matter of the contract for its intended purpose, other than for testing. So this would mean like the homeowner moves in, basically. And at least 95% of the total allocable contract costs attributed to the contract have been incurred. That's also a big one. Final completion and acceptance of the subject matter on the contract. So that means like the contract, yeah, has been completed. Okay. I did want to read the AMT section in here. Vintage names are coming back. My friend just named her twins Josephine and Stella. As an accountant, you always have to be up on all the current regulations. That's probably what he's doing. Yes. I'm studying tax. I feel like Max was an older person's name. That's fair enough. Hi, Celico. You look like you're gonna fall asleep. I might. I might. Where was that? Here it is. So the applicability of AMT to the small contractor. For tax years beginning after the TCJA repealed the AMT for all C-corps to determine whether a small contractor is subject to AMT in tax years before, don't care about before. A small contractor may or may not be subject to AMT depending on the actual annual gross receipts, but small corporations. Okay, that's what I care about. Small corporations are always exempt from AMT, and AMT, hopefully, the cutoff for that is that section 448, which would be the previously 10, then 29, then 30. Individual AMT, of course. Oh, that's so annoying. So, individual AMT still applies. So this actually makes sense. So, all S corporations, regardless of their annual gross receipts, must calculate the long-term contract adjustment as well as any other AMT adjustments, and report the adjustments on Schedule K. Each shareholder's pro rata share of the adjustments is shown on the schedule. Yeah, of course. Okay, this is big. So, home construction contracts are not subject to the requirement for reporting on the percentage of completion method of accounting for AMT purposes. Thus, there is no long-term contract adjustment for these contracts for AMT, even if the contractor is otherwise subject to AMT. Home construction contracts, right? So, if you're an S-corp and So S-corp is going to be different from a C-corp in this case because it flows through to the individual right on the K1. And every individual, the individual AMT was never repealed by the TCJA, unlike the C-corp. So that means that the individual is going to have those long-term contract adjustments, which is not applicable for home construction or residential construction. What do they call it? There's a very specific way that they talk about it. Home construction contracts. And there's a whole section on the AMT adjustments. And so it talks about all that annual gross receipts. This is why, again, like commercial versus residential construction is just very different, especially if commercial is speculative. It's very different. Okay. Annual gross receipts test, they're 3-year. Okay. Well, I'm fine. I'm fine leaving that there. So, let me mark off my 30 minutes of studying in my, just wanted to mark it off in my Google Calendar. What's up, Roger? Whoa, was not expecting tingles from this. Do y'all got a recognition of studies regarding taxes after watching the live? Yeah. What's up? Okay, guys, that was a great time. Hey, what should we do now? I thought about turning on the PS5 and doing a little gaming. Is that crazy? I can show you guys. Let me show you guys some stuff. So very rarely do I play video games. There's just, I don't know. I've just been very preoccupied. It's felt like the past, it's probably been like 2 years since I played like consistently, but one that I do really like. Also, shout out the summer I turned pretty. That was what I was just watching. Well, yeah, not just, it was like a week ago, right? But dude, night fishing. You know what game is fantastic though? And you know, maybe we don't play it, but oh. Really, whoa. Whoa. It's fantastic. Are you gonna get ghosted? So I didn't even know that was a thing. So they're making a sequel, I guess, then, huh? 2 months, jeez. Dude, I'm not gonna have enough time to finish this, because look, this is about, so I got it for like $20. And yeah, dude, this is like 10 hours in. So it's like, there's no way I'm ever gonna finish this game, right? Like, Jin Sakai. Yeah, I have so much to do. It's my guy, though. Yeah, they take so long, Ghost, and it's crazy. It's like, I don't know. It's a fun game for sure, but it just takes forever. But a lot of people like it. I like it. Thought it was really fun. Yeah, I haven't beat it yet, but it's the first time I've ever done that. I didn't even know that was an option there. Anyway, gotta love a game break. Oh, you got to. Dude, Breath of the Wild was a fantastic game. That's probably my favorite game all time. Yeah, that one was just really, really good. Yeah, exploring definitely is the best part. That looks satisfying though. Yeah, yeah, Breath of the Wild was really just like a insane experience. But anyways, guys, it was fun. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for being here. Maybe we'll do some more of these lives more often. I need to go build a slide deck for this presentation on Tuesday. So I didn't like Tears of the Kingdom very much. But anyways, go check out my new video. Go check out the Patreon. Tons of great content on there. Tons of content that YouTube has never seen before. So yeah, check it out. Thanks for watching. Thanks for the donos as well. That was fantastic. And yeah, see you guys. How do I end this thing?